Okay, recording started. Most welcome to 1458 of the Heidegger series. We are starting today with the article of David Morris, most interesting about chirality. The chirality of being, exploring a Merleau-Pontian ontology of sense. I think it could be fitting in many ways. Good, partly. This approach has been helpful in understanding Hans Rein's article and Heidegger and Derrida, but it also leading up to a new talk to Stephen M. Rosen in the middle of April. So I got some problem here with the screen. Soon coming up. There is a connection to what Merleau-Ponty has written earlier about inside and outside, and hidden and out in the open, and especially visible and invisible. How these two features are connected, enforcing each other, and also the problematics with one being constantly hidden, out of view, which I think lead us to assuming it not being important, not existing. It also has this aspect of being inner, not out in view for others, or I think for modern people, not in view even for themselves. We lost this touch with the inner. Let's see, I have two previous lectures about this, and this amounts to 1458. Maybe Kalle could just send me a short mail reminding me about this number. I get them numbered correctly. And we have been getting into the glove, and the dishing glove is an absolute excellent entry into this understanding, I would say. The handedness that we have is the best example of chirality because it's close at bay. We use it for the most important things, writing, drawing, all the things that are pertinent for human existence. The expression chiral or chiral is coming from the Greek word for hand or handedness, actually taken from the Lord Kelvin. I think I'll return a little bit here. It's rather difficult, so some repetition might happen here. And I am presently at page 3, the right column, second paragraph, and the cursive text beginning with yet that left-hand shape. Wait until my colleague finds it. Next lecture will be arranging so I can read directly from the screen. Let's see if I can find it. No, it's a bit further down. It is page 3. Yeah, you found. Aha, sorry. I see it there. Thank you very much, Kalle, and we begin here. Yet that left-hand shape is invisible in the right-hand glove. And to give you a little intro here is when you turn the glove inside out, it is literally invisible in the new hand that it develops. If you turn it inside out, it becomes the other hand. It is there lining the right-hand glove, but you cannot see it as left-handed until the glove reverses from inside to out. And then the right-handedness of the glove becomes invisible in the visible, sorry. So if you turn it inside out, the other hand disappears, becomes hidden, or to use a term from Heidegger and Derrida, veiled, and completely veiled. Of course, we should not think that the invisible of the visible in Merleau-Ponty's ontological sense is exactly the same as the left-hand glove's invisibility in the right-hand glove. Nonetheless, this gives a powerful illustration of the logic at hand in Merleau-Ponty's ontology of the invisible of the visible. And suggests a close proximity between reversibility and that ontology. The illustration also emphasizes the incongruity of members of a chiral pair. A kind of gap between them, a gap that is paradoxically central to their pairing and to reversibility. This gap is suggested by Merleau-Ponty in a passage where he himself discusses chirality. asking us to consider the right, the left, and referring to Kant's discussion of incongruent counterparts. He writes that the two parts of such paths announce a fragmentation of being. That is the possibility for discrimination and the advent of difference. I would say this is really close to the difference that is between the toucher and the touched, sort of primordial difference. This reinforces the point that an incongruence between reversible terms is crucial to Merleau-Ponty. Indeed, Merleau-Ponty speaks of the seer and seen as mirror arrangements. Seer and seen, toucher and touched. And in a discussion of the incongruence of the toucher and touched, connect this with a phenomenon of the relation between the body and its specular image in a mirror. This trope, as you might remember, has reoccurred in the tale of the Mirror by Rodolphe Gasset. This point about the specular image is repeated in a discussion of the divergence between toucher and touched. After a remark that flesh is a mirror phenomenon. Flesh is a mirror phenomenon. Gracias. And in the nature lectures, he writes of the touched and touching hand that they are mirror of each other. And there is something analogous in the relation with things. And of course, reversibility is most often illustrated with the example of the left hand's act of touching when it touches the right hand. Reversing to a passive being touched. That is, this reversal is taking place between chiral counterparts. Finally, we should remember that Merleau-Ponty draws this term chiasm from the peculiar crossover of optical nerves from the body's left and right sides. I would suggest that there could be a chirality between body and mind. And this is why mind is not seen when we look at the body. The mind, the soul, could be a mirror chirality of the body. Think about the dishing glove. When turned inside out, the other side will be completely hidden, completely out of view, but it is still there. Our usual sense of seeing makes it impossible for us to take it in. Merleau-Ponty is inviting us to do that. Chirality is a deepening of perception itself. And in the nature lectures, he writes of the touched and touching hand that they are mirror of each other. And listen now, and there is something analogous in the relation with things. And of course, reversibility is most often illustrated with the example of the left hand's act of touching, reversing to a passive being touched. That is, this reversal is taking place between chiral counterparts. Finally, we should remember that Merleau-Ponty draws his term chiasm from the peculiar crossover of optical nerves from the body's left and right sides. There is an inherent chirality, a spiral within the body. I think all these last extra repeated things are so pertinent. The text is rather condensed because it asks you to take in all of Merleau-Ponty and phenomenology as a whole. So do slowly let these pictures of the relationships come to the fore. The above gives strong evidence that the theme of chirality is not far from Merleau-Ponty's mind when he is thinking about reversibility. And chiasm, in fact, imply chirality, a kind of difference that, as we shall see, is fundamentally, perhaps ontologically, different than other differences. To be a bit more precise, the thought here is that being exhibits reversibility, écart, and sense in virtue of being chiral. In the relevant ontological sense developed below. Pour myself a tea. Finish off almost the whole thermos getting into this text. Put otherwise, the visible and the invisible, here referring to Merleau-Ponty's book, seeks a new and heretofore unnamed element of being called flesh. Flesh is novel in engendering sense within itself. Rather than being senseless matter or requiring transcendent senses introduced from without. Flesh engenders sense through a cut and chiasmatic reversibility. The point so far is that this involves chirality. The point so far is that this involves chirality. The thought I explore is that this means that the difference elemental to being is not. For example, a difference between exclusive opposites, like being and nothing. But a difference with characteristics echoing the peculiarities of chirality. I'm still having time. To better understand the philosophical significance and peculiarity of chirality, I survey results showing how chirality is pervasive in our universe and fundamental to life and sense. These results repeatedly lead to problems about chirality. That point to its peculiarity, and let me develop an ontological understanding of the term. That chirality might have deep philosophical significance should not be surprising. For Kant inaugurates modern studies of chirality by arguing that the left-right difference has implications for the nature of space. We have mentioned this once before, that chirality is what space is. So it's not chirality in space, but chirality is space. It might seem, though, that geometrical or spatial differences are too formal to illuminate anything like ontological differences. But enantiomers, remember that, enantiomers, molecules that are chemically identical except for the chiral arrangement of their atoms, are pervasive in nature, and molecular chirality can make the difference between drug and poison. While the right-hand enantiomer of thalidomide tempers morning sickness, its left-hand version causes mutations disastrously in a molecular echo of Derrida's point about pharmacon. The human body can reverse the right-hand cure delivered in the pharmacist pill into the left-hand poison. It's important to remember that these molecules are identical in the chemical makeup, but it is their chirality that do all the difference. In thalidomide, which is a benign medicine against morning sickness, its spiral cousin or mirror image makes for disastrously effects in the human fetus, an epidemic of handicaps we are well aware of. Chirality makes the difference, and chirality only. I will make a summary here, and I have to arrange for some shade here. A second. A note from Kelly, Lord Kelvin wasn't the first to describe chirality. He named it, I think. So I apologize for my misnomer. He gave it its name from the word hand, at least as far as my knowledge goes. Apparently there has been some noise again. Do apologize for that. Odd, these things. Let me get into chirality. It's the maker of the world, one could say, and inversing itself, the difference between the toucher and touched, the comes. It needs reversibility, and that is one of the reasons why David Morris here is pointing to it as being the ontological difference, foundational. The atom, I said a couple of lectures ago, but maybe it's best to think it is from reversibility that space and time comes. Because this is the maker of temporality. It takes time. It's the time that disappears in the classical model, where the object is thought to be ever present or static, and it ignores the chirality of the other hand. It could also be good here to go back to the Necker cube and the Möbius strip, and of course the Klein bottle. The Necker cube specifically, it is a molecule, that is, to be more specific, a crystal from the beginning, discovered by Necker in the 1830s. And it reverses itself and literally get different features. It is objectively different. Bring this idea over and project it to the whole world. Well, it's asking a lot, but that could be very helpful for the understanding. Bring it to the whole world and see the becoming as sort of caused or being the reversibility of object to subject, toucher to touched. In the very center of the coming is this spiraling. And I think this is also helpful, it is a feature you cannot take away. It is inherent. In the classical model, almost all features are nullified. Time nullifies itself. It can go in both directions in the Newtonian concept. Space seems to be falling for the same features. But chirality is an inherent feature that doesn't need coordinate systems or an outside observer. It doesn't take a view from nowhere, a panopticon, better put, panopticon, because it's inherent, and it's inherent in our bodies, giving it stability, giving it being, or that is what being is. And this is one of the reasons, I would say, why chirality in the beginning can be so hard to understand, because we constantly try to grasp things from the outside, from the panopticonic view in the coordinate system. But chirality is understood from the inside. And I'm not being too metaphorical here. I mean this in a quite literal sense. You need to find the chirality within yourselves. I will take up this in a lecture further on with the South African anthropologist Raymond Dart, discovers spirality within the body, and that it makes up the consistency, the permanence of the body. Another important feature is the flesh. We'll get into more of that later on. That seeing the soul, the mind as the mirror image. Makes sense in many aspects. It makes the understanding of why we never see the soul now these days much clearer. The soul hides itself. It's the reverse dishing glove. And when you're looking at the Necker cube, the alternative Necker cube will also be out of sight completely. It would be indiscoverable by any method. Only the subject-object relation can put it differently, reverse it, and thereby also reversing the subject. Can you see here how this is in itself a spiral? Chirality is also absolutely foundational within quantum mechanics. I won't go into that now, but I'm pressing the point about chirality here extensively. Another example, apart from pharmacon, is lactic acid, which is produced in the muscles when they metabolize nutritions without access to oxygen, leading to acidification of the muscles, which is a trainer's ache we feel when we're running or walking long distances. It has a chiral counterpart, also lactic acid, but this one is from nature fermented, like in yogurt. They partake in a spiral system in the body, and the nature-made lactic acid dries out the souring acid from the muscles to give new strength. Most recently discovered, or in this case, the two acids are, none of them are poisonous to speak of, but they're partaking in making a space which is the body system of lactic acid. So you see here inside what they do come together. They're inside their chirality, come together with what they're doing exterior in the body from the perspective of the lactic acid, of course. Once more, I apologize for the noise. We'll see what we can do about it. And I will read a comment by my colleague Kalle here. In his 1974 book, Glass, Derrida puns on the name Kant, meaning edge in German. Yet paradoxically, Kant perhaps understood edges as his comments about chirality show. Very well. Yeah, indeed. And just a comment from Kalle here, yes, it's interesting that the chemical makeup in the thalidomide is identical in both cases. Yeah, it is. I think most people don't understand that or are aware of it, I would say. And one of the reasons is that chirality in itself is hard to understand. And in this case, I recommend that you play with it in your mind's eye to see the spiral. And if you have a screw, that could be very helpful because it has an inherent movement. You cannot screw it in the way you want because how the screw is made has a direction. Very similar to how our bodies do have a direction. How we become directed once we understand more of chirality. I would continue in the next lecture. I would stop the recording and ask Kalle to linger on for a second here. And I say thank you very much for this 1458 lecture. And we will continue on the fourth page with enantiomers next lecture. Just now end the recording.
Thank you.